Everyone, welcome to My Final Play. I'm here with former MLB baseball player Chris Howard. Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, nice to be here.
Yep. So, as far as your baseball career, you made it to the major leagues. What teams did you play for, and what position did you play?
Well, I was a catcher.
Okay.
I made it to. I now only played for one team in the major leagues, and my debut was in 1991. I got called up 4 different seasons. My last year was 95 in the major leagues. My last year was in 1995. That happened to be the year that we went to the playoffs that year. Seattle did for the first time in the history of the franchise. So that was fun.
Yeah.
We played for the American League pennant against the Cleveland Indians and eventually lost in 6 games to them. But that was an exciting time to be a part of that. But I played for. I was in '96. I was with the Montreal Expos in spring training, which and then got traded over to the New York Mets and ended up playing AAA with them that entire year. And then the following spring, I signed with the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
And then by the time the end of spring was over, my shoulder was shot, and I was sitting in the doctor's office and all that other stuff. And after getting the diagnosis and here's what it's going to take and all that other stuff, as a 34-year-old guy back in 97, 98, the writing was on the wall that it was probably time to start something else, to start the next point of my life or the next part of my life. So, and that's when I eventually retired back then.
All right, so that was '96 then.
That was '97 actually. That was '97. I had stayed on hoping that I would be able to come back.
Yeah.
But it's funny, they have all these great surgeries for the elbow and stuff like that with the Tommy John, but once you start talking about a shoulder, and
right.
it's and even back then, back then they don't have the technology that they do now, and I was basically told you're looking at about a year off at least.
Oh, wow.
And then with rehab, it was the writing was on the wall.
Right.
I would have been 35 by the time I could have even been throwing the ball again. So
yeah.
it was time.
With definitely a long road ahead then.
Yes, it was.
Well, all right. So as far as your final play, the last thing that you remember, what does that look like, and for what team?
Well, when you told me about this, I was trying to think, should I say the last play that I was ever actually in, or my last time that I knew I was going to be in a uniform?
Right.
And that last time I knew I was going to be in a uniform was at spring training of Boston.
Yeah.
And we were out. It was actually during infield, and I knew my shoulder was shot, and I knew it was, and I was doing my best to hide it. And after a round of infield throwing, because I was basically known as a thrower, a throwing catcher, a defensive guy. I had one of the coaches that had known me from the past,
yeah.
And he came up to me after that and said, "Man, what is wrong with your arm?" And so I knew at that point that I wasn't fooling anybody anymore. So,
right.
And that was kind of the reality that, okay, this might be coming to an end right here.
Yeah.
And that was when I got, had to see the doctor and all that other good stuff. But it's funny as an athlete, especially as somebody, from the time I was, literally from the time I was 10 years old,
yeah.
This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I never had any of those other aspirations of being a fireman or a policeman or anything like that. I wanted to play baseball.
Yeah.
And when you're 35 years old and all of a sudden it's like your whole life was working for this, and then you kind of get hit with the reality that it's coming to an end. It was tough. It was a rough summer. It was actually a rough couple of years just trying to adjust.
Right. So, as far as the last play then that you were actually involved in, what did that look like?
Well, the last play, actually, it was a AAA game actually,
yeah.
And we were in the playoffs and with the Mets at the time, and I cannot remember the team that we were playing, what organization it was, but it was in the championship series, and the last game or the last play that I was involved in was watching their winning run go across the plate.
Oh,
so
man.
it was great to be there. I mean, I was with a lot of teammates that I really loved, and it was fun. But that last play I remember was base hit up the middle, guy coming around second, the throw was way off the mark, and he kind of turned around, and there he goes, and they're jumping up and down just like you see on television with cheering, and it was walking off the field at that point.
Right. Oh, man. So definitely a lot of emotions involved with that. And now, as far as, like you said, from the time that you were 10, you wanted to be a professional baseball player. To what point or to what extent was your identity in just that? I'm a baseball player.
Right. It was. I mean, it really was. It was just being an athlete in general is really what it was. I mean, my father played professional baseball.
Okay.
In fact, he played here in Williamsport back in the 60s. So, I mean, there's always this circle of life of me somehow ending up back here in Williamsport. But so it was something. I mean, obviously I was good at it. But the funny thing is my path to get to professional baseball went through another sport, which is football.
Yeah.
My high school in Kansas City, we didn't have a baseball team.
Okay.
So the extent of baseball I had was playing in the summer league and things like that. It was football where I was getting a lot of my notoriety, at least from colleges.
Yeah.
So when I was being recruited for football in college, I was asking the different colleges that were recruiting me, hey, can I play baseball there too? And most of them said yes, and the one that eventually Oklahoma said, yeah, you can do both here. So I went to the University of Oklahoma to play football and baseball.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was, but with full intention, knowing that
The baseball
was what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And after 2 years of football at Oklahoma, our football coach at the time, Barry Switzer, said, do you want to play baseball full time? He knew I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I do. And so they said, we'll keep you on a football scholarship, but your next year you can play baseball in the fall. And that's kind of how it all got started for the scouts seeing you and all that other good stuff. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I mean, as far as those emotions and obviously the identity, it's definitely been a huge part of your life. If you could go back to a 15-year-old you and give yourself one piece of advice in sports to kind of help you better suit for down the road, what would that look like?
I think what I would tell the 15-year-old me was, and this, it's kind of hard for me to admit this, but I would tell the 15-year-old would tell me, who was in professional baseball, to not be in so much of awe of all the other people that are playing.
Right.
And I remember my first time getting called up in '91, and we were playing the Kansas City Royals, and that was my hometown.
Yeah.
We're in Kansas City. I've got family, friends. Everybody's in this stadium, and George Brett's coming to the plate. And there's besides Johnny Bench, George Brett is the guy. It went Johnny Bench, George Brett, and Gary Carter. Those were the guys that I loved. And here comes Brett to the plate. And I remember just being like, I cannot believe I'm sitting here. I'm back here, and here comes George Brett. And I always worked hard. I never had to worry about somebody outworking me. I was a 41st round draft pick. Yeah. And I knew that being a 41st round draft pick, you better work hard, because the guy that was drafted, the year I was drafted, the second and third round picks were catchers. Yeah. So I knew if I had any hope whatsoever of being recognized or being taken serious, that I was going to have to outwork everybody else. And I was confident in myself that I knew, talent-wise and playing-wise, I knew I could play with anybody, but it was a matter of working hard so everybody else could see that. But one of the things that, and I look back on it now, that used to drive me crazy is, even my last year in the major leagues, I'd get awestruck at seeing the guys coming to, this guy is, and I got to play with King Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson and Edgar Martinez and all these guys and I'd still get in awe of all these other people. So if I could go back to 15, I would say, stop. Hey, you're a major leaguer just like them.
You deserve it.
And stop, relax, and then go out there and play. But working hard. Obviously that's the number one component. I mean, what every good player that you see on TV has is they always work harder than the other guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a reason it looks so easy. There's a reason why King Griffey Jr. has a swing because he works. It's just not one of those things you walk out and do.
Right.
So
He could do it in his sleep.
yeah, he could. So it was, 15-year-old self, continue to work hard, make yourself known. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to get out there and show what you can do. Hard work. I have a writing in my office, or it's up on my whiteboard, and winners embrace hard work.
Yeah.
And which, you know what I mean? Winners are not afraid to work hard. That's
Absolutely.
how you become a winner.
Yep. So with baseball as a career in playing, with what it is that you're doing now, what are you doing now?
Well, I'm the head baseball coach here at Penn College. We're a NCAA Division III program.
Yep.
I've been the head coach here for 12 years now. So it's obviously naturally baseball is what I know. This is I don't pretend to be a scientist or anything like that. This is I am trying to use my talent the best way I can, and that's what I'm doing here.
Absolutely. So as far as always having that dream to play it, and now to play it as a career and to teach others to play it is definitely something that's cool to pass on. So
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I definitely appreciate the time that you've given me today, and I hope everybody watching liked it as well. If you did like the content, please like and subscribe below. In addition, remember, whatever it is that you do today, approach it with the mindset of, is this my final play? Thanks a lot.